Hey, Dimitris. Good morning.
Hey, hi. Hi, Mauro. Can you hear me? Mauro, you're muted. Vittorio, you're
A
not.
good catch. Yeah, I was replying all.
All right, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You?
Yes, yeah.
All right. William said he's going to be a little bit late.
Okay.
I'm
I'm starting to get sick already. Amazing.
Same here. I managed to finally get the bug that Lynn has been having for weeks now.
You thought you were past that, right?
Exactly. Like, okay, I mean, if I haven't gotten it at this point, I probably will not get it. Not
Okay.
true. Hey,
Hi, William.
Good morning, guys.
Oh, I like your cat.
Where is he? Oh, yeah. He's always hanging out here in the morning. He's
Yeah.
quiet.
Taking a seat for the planning meeting. Grab the chair.
He's helping me writing the copy operator.
All right.
Nice.
Does it check? I remember it's this call because the calendar event still has a link to the Google Meet thing. Let me ping him. Okay, audio issues. Okay, let's give him a second, but in the meantime, let me try to share my screen. Sharing screens. All right. You can see my screen.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, now it's killing my CPU. What on earth?
Hey folks, sorry about that. I can't make my headphones work, so I'm currently on the phone. Not sure if you can hear me correctly.
Just fine.
We hear
All
you.
fine. Yeah.
Okay.
You get an iPhone, right?
No, there is a lot of noise around. I'm trying to go away from the noise, but it's just following me everywhere in the house.
It's called Kids Ichaka.
Noise. No, that's what I call my kids. It's their name. All right, so let's go through the board. Before the board, let me go to the planning board, the high level one, and discuss where we are currently at. Scrolling far to the right, far to the right, even further. What on earth? Okay. We have this sequence of 3.x releases, which is all done. The next one is going to be called V4, mainly because there's going to be a big change and we will stop releasing artifacts for other flavors. Let me clarify, we'll stop releasing artifacts, not building them. We're going to build them in the pipelines and test them like we do now, maybe with some changes as we go, but at least in the beginning, it's going to be exactly the same. We'll test them like we did, but when the release time comes, there isn't going to be this mess. So I'm saying that a little bit more detailed because of the recording for people that watch it synchronously. So instead of having these big matrix of 477 artifacts, there's only going to be hadrons, so just a few of them. So core hadron, hadron with K3s, hadron with K0s, and the various architectures and such. So a lot less than what we see here, because now we have all the tools. We even did workshops to show how to do that, and we're going to help even more people to build their own pipelines. So there is no reason why our CI should do all this thing and delay our releases, and we carry all this burden of building them if it's so easy to do, right? All right, and if there are no comments on that, that's what 4.0.0 is all about. But if you go here, we are going to see we also have the copy story in there. So I'm not sure we can sync when the time comes to release. There's no pressure, but William, I think you are already close to having something announceable, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So maybe we can try to make it for 4, like a first support, like level of support for copy.
Yes. Do you want to go through now the copy or later?
No, just as it has been released, we'll do it in the board. So just the high level. So this is what it is all about. Getting only head on in and maybe some support for copy already. But if we don't make it, it doesn't matter. It's different repos after all, right? It's not like we got an artifact for copy in the Kairos project. But yeah, that's the idea. So let me go to the other board now, the planning board. Well, let's go through the done column first. Before I jump into it, is anybody going to leave earlier and wants to speak up first? Otherwise, we'll do it like we usually do. All right. Okay, kernel panic not working in needs found. That was a bug in Hadron, I guess, and fixed. Fixed by... Yeah, we don't know, but it's probably fixed because we've done lots of changes since, and there was no comment, so we closed it. 370, that came with, let's see, what did we deliver with 370? CVEs. What's that? CI change. Does anybody remember? The factory works rate. All right, it was just closed because it's not needed anymore. Node won't reset. I think some of them were closed because they were open for too long, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, automatically closed. So if anybody thinks we should reopen them, let me know. But it's still an issue, I guess. Nobody verified again.
I don't think I've tried it now.
Should I just reopen it? Let's reopen
maybe.
it and move it to... Where do they go when you reopen them?
To the icebox.
Status, no. My God. Restore. And then goes to do. All right, move it there.
It is very old.
Yeah, but probably still an issue. We need to check. And actually, I'm not getting the reboot to work with the interactive installer too. I wanted to put it in a ticket, but I didn't find the time. So when I use the interactive installer, it just stays there and I have to Control-C kill it to be able to.
I think Mauro opened something for that, no?
Don't remember.
Remember that you have to go back to be able to select the action you wanted to do. So if you extra configure the interactive installer with something like a SSH key or something, it just won't do anything at the end.
Oh, yeah, it's true. There should be a ticket about that.
Okay. This resolution for NVIDIA or in images. Is that a Kairos need feature?
Is this another automatically close?
Yeah. We closed it because we won't do. Partition encryption. I'm checking because I want to make sure nothing was closed that is important. I think some of them. I closed it. GetKM is working with Yuki more in this, and that is the early boot. Yeah, okay. In reintroduce unlock all command, we did so in the Kairos agent. These are kind of all. I mean, they've been closed for a while, but this is wrapping the release. I'm just noting down what we did. Splash image, Hadron fixes, Hadron beta release. That was an error in reset with grab, and it happened. Yeah, we made it a warning. It wasn't really a problem, but we made it a warning, and you can ignore. I think we even improved it further. So it checks, and if it finds one, it doesn't even print the warning anymore.
Yeah, I think Jasper fixed it, so it tries everything, and if it doesn't find any of those, then it errors out, not just once.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, so not even a warning anymore. This is about documentation for Hadron, I guess. Hadron site analytics.
By the way, the Hadron quick start, I will have to to update and to also record the new ones, because now we have the stable ones. So there were a few quirks. For example, there was no ARM and some issues with the Mac, and all of that now has been addressed. So that's also on the planning.
All right. Marble Run, it's closed because we'll do something else. I thought you've been closing this confidential. Okay, so cook operator. I guess we don't need to discuss it yet. It's not yet a priority, I think.
No, not now.
Okay, so we just closed these and replaced them with newer tickets, more up to date with what we want to do. Same thing for confidential computing here. Node won't reset after web install. That we discussed. 5 new nodes we discussed. This was automatically closed. Our library, the library we use to read the QR code, is a little bit sensitive. It can't really read it if it's very pixelated, and we wanted to try to find another one, but it was never picked up. I tend to think we should just leave it closed until someone else asks for it again. Maybe it's really an edge case, and we don't even know if there's a better library. So update advanced build docs page for operator. I think that's me adapting the docs for the operator. So just letting everybody know that now, in the dev at least until we got a release, there's a new section for operator, and everywhere where we mentioned things about operator, node, op, post artifacts and things like that, they just back to this section. So there's a dedicated section for the operator explaining how to install it, what its CRD does, examples on how to use it. So this is the canonical location for everything related to Kairos operator documentation. And we'll try to keep this up to date. So that's this. Fix reset source. There was a mistake in the docs. Sorry, the key. So trying to copy paste from docs, turned out that we were missing the system sub key here, and it's now fixed. This is just the presentation for the config management camp, the workshop. And by the way, now, if you didn't notice, we have, how does it start? Yeah. So we have a pattern, let's say not a repo, we decided to keep them as separate repositories, but there is going to be a pattern. So when we have a workshop, it turns out that this structure worked very nicely. People could just follow it at their own pace. So some people were faster, some people were left behind. So they could just use this repository to move around. And since we liked the structure, we decided to keep them around permanently and reuse them and keep updating them, because we had people actively contributing and fixing things in these docs, in this guide, while at the workshop, which was very nice. And they kept doing that for, it was Olivier, I think, right? And he kept doing that even after the workshop. So he fixed all the um, instructions for Mac. I think it's still open though. Yeah,
Yeah, I still have to review some changes. Yeah.
All right. So let me actually copy that and put it here so we keep seeing that. There it is. All right. So that's what it's all about. And for the future ones, we're going to have other repos. They're all going to start with workshop does something. So they're all grouped together when you go to Kairos.io and search for workshops or list repositories here. You're going to see something like this with more to come. So, JCrypt Challenger version in the Helm charts. Okay, just bumping versions. Yeah, there was a request to be able to build artifacts for different architectures than the host one in the operator. And although Aurora Boot already supported that, we didn't expose the flag properly, and this is fixing it. It's all in the operator docs. Here I was adding the unpack command just because we were using Luet to unpack, and when we wanted to unpack another architecture, at that point Luet didn't have an arch flag. Then I saw you added the arch flag in Luet, so I could have used that as well. But it's better if we stick to just one tool, right? So
yeah. I put it there, just in case if somebody's using it, asking it again.
Yeah.
So you're not.
I think they're using the same code behind the scenes. I'm not exactly sure, but anyway, both work. So there's there's an unpack command in Aurora Boot now that you give it a container. I imagine it unpacks that to a directory. Keep that in mind. That's CI issues, I guess, for MFI vars. I don't even remember. It has my face on it.
Remember, we updated the nodes, and then there was some issues with the firmware stuff, so you had to do a lot of changes.
Yeah, and we looked for the right of VFM firmware with a function, and then used it in various places. Then it needed some more. Okay, CI things, let's not discuss too much, but yeah, if you're working on things like that, keep in mind there is a reusable function that finds the OVFM firmware. So look for other examples and copy what we do already. Adhering to the web UI flavors, what web UI would that be? That's Aurora, but yeah, okay. It was missing. Remember, in the web UI we have these buttons where you select flavor. Headroom was missing. Just added that there, and I think I cut a release with that. So latest release of Aurora Boot has that. Yeah, okay. In docs, some Kairos init flags were missing, and there were also deprecated ones because we changed from the short ones to the long versions, and docs were still referring to the old ones. This is improving a message in the interactive installer when it prints the progress of the installation. There was a request to change the text to something more, I don't know, that people would understand if they're not very familiar. So it was saying installing active. People don't know what active is, so we just changed the wording a bit. Then a problem because the interactive installer didn't work in, I think, in Alpine. So a small fix for that. Copy Hadron sim. There was we had a workaround for the sim, grab sim, and we don't need that anymore. Hadron has a sim now, so we don't need the workaround. It was removed. This is replacing system upgrade controller with operator in CI. I think we still had. Yeah, I think we still had tests that used system upgrade controller. Yeah, test assets still using system upgrade controller to upgrade, and this is switching to the operator. CI issues again. Not gonna go through them with detail. It's too many. Install Hedron on RPi4 with SD card. It's adding a module, if I recall correctly, which allows us to in the kernel compilation step. So the SD card also works on RPi4, right? On
Yeah,
Hedron.
actually on RPi 1 through 4. Yeah,
Nice.
in order for the SD card to work. Unfortunately, as I tested that, I only used USB, so I missed that part. But Ludea came over and fixed that.
Nice.
Very cool.
This is fixing the screen, the graphical TTY on macOS, I think, with the no mode set. We had this deprecated, let's say, legacy option, and that somehow broke the graphical TTY during the workshop for Macs. This is fixing it. That's only Hedron, I think. No, general, I don't remember.
In
I
general.
think in general, okay. Yeah, this is introducing the new section for the operator that I showed before. Various fixes, nothing to comment there. Implementing templating. All right. So this is part of a bigger epic. Let me go to the epic for a second. There is this story here, which is in progress. This is the epic. And we want to change the OS artifact. Just a little history. The OS artifact was part of OS Builder. OS Builder is now archived. Now OS artifact CRD is part of the operator. And it has a spec that doesn't look like this, but this is kind of what we want it to look like. And this is introducing some concepts which are not explicitly mentioned, but we keep that as a reference. So one of these, which I'm going to just show now, is being able to do things like this in the Dockerfile. So it already allowed you to build with your own Dockerfile. It's using Kaneko inside a pod to build the image out of that. But yeah, you couldn't change it unless you rewrote the whole thing. So the syntax is not what you see here. They have different names and it's all part of the documentation. But what we really wanted, part of this epic, is we wanted to be able to templatize this. Why? Because, for example, you may want to create a value for the registry you use, and with one change, you want to change it everywhere in the Docker file. So you want to have values. And this is what this does. Where is it? Oh my God, where's templating? Yeah, this is adding templating in the operator. I can show you an example if you are interested. If I go to documentation, dev, operator, where am I? OS artifact, and hopefully it's merged if I recall correctly. Template, yeah, Docker templating, and that's what it looks like. So you say you can define the values either inline in your Docker file or through a config. So you can, through a secret. So you can say, go find my values in the secret. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There. Values from this secret. Or you can do it inline, or you can do both, but the inline ones win over the secret ones, combining both sources. So you can actually do things like that. And this is to cover this thing where teams want to templatize part of it and bump versions easily and things like that. So they don't touch the Docker file all the time, okay? So that's what this is about. Refactor operator docs we discussed. Polished version with new logos. We are talking about this nice little page, right? And this wonderful final logo of Hadron. So good job. I don't see any links here other than quick start, which links to. Can you still hear me, by the way?
Yeah, we can. That's a nice logo.
Yeah, all right. Just linking to docs, if I understand correctly, there is nothing, no other sub page or anything, right? That's a landing page and points.
Yeah. Everything will land, I think, on the Kairos website. We still need to discuss a few of those changes, but I think that's how it's going to be.
All right, really nice. Migrate Hadron website to Docusaurus. Sorry, that page I showed before is Docusaurus. Just one page.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to first do a dry run, right? Break the one page of Hadron before breaking the so many pages we have in Kairos, and also find any glitches on deployment or whatever. But it went pretty well, so I moved to the Kairos one, and now you will have a lot of tiny tickets there. Basically, just go to the main ticket, I would say, the main PR that you will see in Kairos docs. And there you can already see a preview. But I will first finish everything before I ping you all, and then I will ask you please to do an in-depth review, at least of the areas that you use the most or that you know the most.
Okay, the first good thing is it doesn't look very different from what we had, which is a very nice thing. Nicely migrated. And then all the subpages are also in Docusaurus, right? Docs and all.
Everything except for versions at the moment. I still need to decide how old versions are going to work. And I mean, I would also like to discuss at some point whether we want to keep all the old versions that we had, or just a few of them. That's the main challenge that is coming. But everything else has been moved.
This was automated, or you migrated it? You automated that, right? So it's
it's automated.
Okay, but it's broken.
Yeah.
But very nice. Good work. All right, work in progress then. And little issues, I'm skipping them. We show the big one, docs, migration, docs migration.
Yeah.
All right.
It's gonna be that.
Nice. Okay, so I can archive them all. And we can move on to under review. So, firmware update package to Hadron Linux. Didn't have time to look at it. I think, Chaka, you pinged us. It's ready for review, I guess.
Yes, so I reworked the whole thing to be an example instead of being inside the Hadron default one, because it brings a lot of dependencies, including glib. So I thought it was maybe nicer to make it just an example, so you could build a layer with. Oh, it's merged. And then we can try to do the 6x part from that layer and test the second part of that ticket, which is one, be able to build the firmware update software and it runs. And then the second one is try to deliver it as a 6x with the overrides for everything and so on. So and this also brings GPG as well, because at first I had some issues with firmware update, trying to verify the update files, and it needed GPG. So I built GPG, and then I discovered that I didn't need that. I just needed to use the OpenSSL signer. But I already did all the work to build GPG, so I just put it in there as well as an example as well.
Nice.
So it's still missing making it a 6x, but when it's a 6x, that means it can be used with the lightweight Dockerfile of Hadron, for example? All right.
Yeah, but I'm not sure it will work as a 6x, right? So we have to override the paths that the 6x is able to mount, and that has implications because those paths are overlaid. Maybe some overlays already in there don't allow to overlay on top again. It makes paths read only by default, unless you have a very high version of systemd, which in Hadron it shouldn't be an issue, but we haven't tested that or so you can make those paths still read right. So it's a whole kind of worms that have to test first.
And there's no plan or requirement to have this in the upstream, let's say our official images of Hedron, right? So it's fine to keep
Not
it as an
sure.
example and people do it themselves.
I mean, we could publish the layer, right? Like the empty layer as well as, and then you will just have to do from Hadron whatever version as base, copy from the firmware update layer on top. There's your image. So no extra building required from your part if you want firmware update. But this brings
All right.
a lot of dependencies. So I will say having it on the base image expands quite a bit the software, that we are shipping by default, which I don't think it may be needed. For example, for closed stuff, this firmware update is useless. For VMs, it's useless. So maybe we should. Well, maybe in the future we can publish another different version, but it's still
bare
on
metal
the air,
one,
I
for
would say.
example.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Work in progress going forward, but it's ready for review, right? I don't see why not to merge it. Actually,
Well,
it's
it's actually
intermediate
merged.
step. It is.
I think it's actually merged. Yeah, the pull request.
Okay. So you want to do the rest of the steps, so I can move it back to do or in progress. Okay, we can see. I'll move it to do.
Yeah.
Until we see what we have. Yeah, so this is just a little cleanup in Aurora boot. ISO.data was introduced a lot earlier than ISO overlay ISO option, and they were doing pretty much the same thing. With the help of Cursor, I consolidated them in just overlay ISO because I'm preparing to use them as part of the ticket we discussed. So it's just a preparation step. And this is the docs fix for macOS for the workshop we discussed already.
Yep.
So, what are we currently doing? Publish Hadron all images, that's for V4. So, focused on the upcoming release. Nothing to comment, I guess. Just cleaning up all pipelines. No, not all. Release pipelines, I guess. Right?
Well, actually, this is I did a first step of the pull request, which just drops everything from the pipelines, then just makes it only Hadron and moves all the testing, the full thing, even the tests that were on master, into pull request. So once that is merged, and then we can expand to the others having just an acceptance or something like that. But we still have to discuss if we will do that on pull request, on master, maybe on Kairos init, which already builds like 15 images for different stuff. Maybe we could have an acceptance test in there instead. I don't know. So first step is kind of merge everything together and make it sure that only runs Hadron, that we run all the tests, because Hadron is faster. We can run all the pull request tests, and it's much faster than before. So once that is in, then we can move to the next step of adding the rest of the distros as the test.
Since you mentioned it, I don't know if it's possible. I guess it is. But we could have a label on pull requests which you can use. So when you're first working on pull request, you want fast feedback. So while you have that label, maybe it only runs tests on Hadron, and when you remove it, it runs on all the other flavors. So maybe initially you start with that label, and when you're ready and everything is passing Hadron, then you enable to save some CI cycles, right? So maybe we can do it like that. Instead of commenting out everything like we did in the past, we can implement it through a label. Or maybe say if it's draft, for example. So if it's a draft PR, we can skip all the others and say, okay, while it's draft, I'm only running Hadron tests. So something like that. Checks and renovate for Hadron. Renovate?
Yeah, no, that was
yeah.
It was the original intention to use renovate, but renovate is not good for this. Then we moved to bump, and while that kind of worked, it was missing a lot of functionality. Then Maru mentioned update CLI, and it seemed to work much nicer. Then I reworked the whole thing with the help of AI and separated that, and it seems to work. It creates pull requests. The problem is because we use forks to send the patches, we lose the changelogs. With not all of them have changelog, but things like GitHub releases and so on, it will pick up the changelogs automatically, which is very nice. It's kind of like Renovate. And we still need to have the checksums somehow. But yeah, this is a very time-consuming task, to be honest. I will say that we go at the checksums now one by one, slowly, because it's very time-consuming to make it work properly. So, but at least now we have auto updates, and because it's CI robot and it already has merge a pull request, we will get the pull request automatic testing. So supposedly in the mornings when we arrive, it should be the pull request created with the newer versions, and we will see if they are okay and they pass the test and so on.
So the update CLI also bumps the checksums. I didn't quite get that. Does it bump the checksums or not?
We don't have checksums at all.
We don't. Okay, very
No.
nice. That's even better.
Yeah.
Kidding.
So you just have to go one by one, and some of them will provide checksums, some of them won't, but it's you have to
But
check.
update CLI has support for checksums?
Well, it has something that called conditions. So you don't update unless that condition is true, and then you can do whatever you want in that condition. Yeah. So ideally, you will just pick the checksum, pick the file, try the checksum, and do whatever.
But it's not the same for all of them. I get it. Okay.
No. Everything is completely different. But at least we got auto updates, which is something.
All right, we'll get to that. So can we close this or move it back until we have the checksum? So just put a comment on what's left and move it back if it's not urgent to have the checksums, or we can just keep it here if you're still working on it.
I would suggest to close this one, and since we have another card about salsa, maybe we can put the checksum under that card, because it makes sense to have, checksum in place, but I mean, there was already a lot of work in this card,
All right, where is that card so I can mention it maybe?
Can you search salsa?
Is it on the board? Salsa.
It's on the French. SLSA.
SLSA. Salsa compliance. This, but I guess it doesn't have any mention of the.
No, exactly. Let's put it under this one.
Yeah.
So when we plan compliance,
edit. What do I do? Implement checksums in Hadron builds. And then I'll say
dependencies.
Checksums of dependencies in Hadron builds. Left work left from here. From here, let's make it a here link. From here. All right. Okay. And then I'm gonna say move the checksum part to an item on this. Closing. Close with comment. All right, that's gone. That's not needed anymore. Why does it look like that? Because I have to clean it up, and here we are. Archive them. All right. Copy. William, any updates?
Yes. The The MVP for the alpha release for K3S has been added as well. So now also I've tested K3S deployment, child cluster workload cluster deployment with vSphere, and it works. This week I'm going to QA Kubert. So also CapK is working, and then I need to do some QAs also on other operating systems. For the moment, I'm just testing out Ubuntu with single node. I would like also to try Hedron, but I don't know where we are with that. Yes, and I would like to, once it's stabilized, the Kubert side, and I would like to call an alpha release or alpha 1, however we want to call it.
What are the requirements from Hedron? I would really like to see even on the alpha release to see Hedron as a first class citizen. I mean, if we were to support something, I would like it to be Hedron first if possible. So what would it require? Just K3S and K0S running on Hedron? Because I think that's already working, no?
It should be. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't, but I don't know until I hit it. So I mean, looking at how Hedron works, I think it's pretty straightforward. It should just work.
You take the images we release. You don't create any custom images to make it work, right?
Actually, I am. The only thing that I'm doing is I'm pulling one of the images that we release, and with Aurora Boot I create an initial config, which just specifying the data sources that I want for Cloud Init, and then when I enhance the configuration with Capi. So Capi is going to put in all the things that are needed in Cloud Config to make sure that the cluster comes up online, that the node reference and the provider ID are set for the infrastructure provider, for the Capi infrastructure provider, and then it works.
And that initial config, you bake it in the image, you have to rebuild it, or you just feed it through like user data?
I just feed it as user data install, yeah.
And it works, all right, okay. Because you had some issues with that, I remember.
Yeah, it was fun enough. The issues were not very easy to understand, but it was syntax that is related to the stage of where it is. So there are little scripts that I built to make sure that the service, the system units are built for, because let's say I hijack the way K3S or K0S start. So before they start, I need to create that provider ID to make sure that it's added to the config, and it needs to be there as soon as the VM is created, but before the Kubernetes engine starts. So that syntax, if it's in boot stage, it's incorrect. But if it's in init from FS, or if it's in another stage, I don't remember, then it passes. It took me a while to understand that.
Doesn't sound like something needing fixing in.
No, it's not.
Okay.
No, it's not. The problem was not in Kairos. The problem was more in the guy behind the keyboard.
Yeah, okay. If anything needs to be integrated in provider or something, just let us know. And by the way, when we get closer to having to announce that, ping people so we start at least trying that out, and maybe do a quick run through the code. Maybe we can spot anything, but at least QA that, right?
No, absolutely. As soon as I'm done with Kubert, I want to hand it over to you guys to do some QA to try out and to go, to nitpick through the code. The testing framework is definitely something that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, we can help with that. Very nice. Very good progress. All right. So migrate docs to Docusaurus. That's referring to the Kairos docs, which we saw. This is done.
Yeah,
the
this is
presentation.
done.
Yeah.
Next
Can I
one is
close it?
also done. Yeah, you can close.
Close. I should have done it. Never mind. I'm here now. Closing. Bye bye. Which one? Jasper's onboarding is done.
That's done. Yeah.
Wait. Close. And
It's fully done, the onboarding?
I
Is he on
believe
the
so.
maintainers and everything?
No, he should be on the contributor.
Okay.
Could you just validate, Ettore, if he... Oh, wait. I think I can check that now. How do you check people in the teams? I forget.
Go to Kairos IO and then teams, no?
Yeah.
Here
contributors.
Or
Yeah,
members
correct.
or
It can
people,
be
teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, give the role triage. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Nice.
So there is the team contributors. Yeah, exactly. And you can see the repositories in there.
Nice. Thanks.
All right. This is really done. This we discussed. So it's not really broken down. I don't want to take more of your time to create the sub stories. I just want to briefly mention what's left and get your opinion on one of the things because I want to continue on this. So here, one way to build is you define the whole Dockerfile, and your Dockerfile would look probably something like what we have in Kairos, that. And even simpler than this, because you probably in your own Dockerfile you're only building one of these two, and you know if it's FIPS or not, so you don't need all these conditionals. So it's going to be just one command of Kairos in it near the end. So it could be just 5 lines of, even if you don't do this, right? It could be 3 lines Dockerfile. In my opinion, this is not a bad UX, and also allows the user to understand what's going on. There is no magic in that. This description here, this example, implies that there is another mode in which the user doesn't really define the Dockerfile, but only defines the base image, like this one, for example. Where is it? From this one. And they only say the base image, and we add the Kairos init command automatically. And that's why you see this option here. So in that mode, they can override the Kairos init version and the options you pass in, which makes me think that it's really an overkill. It's not, I mean, I'd rather have the user see the 4 lines of Dockerfile and change what they want rather than trying to make it, automagical just to hide 4 lines. And then we allow them to have all these things just to change how these 4 lines work. So my suggestion, and that's where I want your opinion, is we don't do this part. We go out with just the Dockerfile. Now we have templating and all, and we don't implement this, let's say, simplified version. And Torres, since this came from you, I really want you to tell me if it's gonna fly or not.
For me, it's okay. I mean, it makes totally sense, to have values templated and treat everything as a values. No, so it's not. But my only concern is just about, simplification, because Kairos init version options, it's easy, and then otherwise you have to understand the whole templating, but if we provide, maybe a middle ground could be that they are transformed to values, they are just syntax sugar, what I mean? And internally they are processed as templates. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's how we would do that. If we were to implement this behind the scenes, we would just have our own version of the Dockerfile, and we would implement this in templates. But that's what I'm trying to avoid, because really, I mean, the Dockerfile is 4 lines. And we're trying to hide 1 line from the user and then giving them 5 lines to mutate that 1 line. You could as well just let them define the line, right? They see it in an example, they change the options. I don't know.
What happens? I'm just trying to understand the scenarios that people will come in when you say the 4 lines. I'm thinking of someone who wants to start with a very heavy Dockerfile. What happens if your Dockerfile has 300 lines or more?
In that case, you're not in this mode. So this mode is only for people that want to say, hey, take upstream Ubuntu and make me Kairos out of it. So I don't want to write these 4 lines that are needed, this Dockerfile that is needed. I don't want to write it myself. I just want to say here Ubuntu 2404. I don't even want to do this actually most of the time, but if I want to, I can tell you, hey, no, actually the user would probably never do this, but they would come and say, hey, oh, there is a bug, it doesn't build, and we would fix, and we would tell them, okay, please define this block there to bump your Kairos in it so you use a newer or older one that works. So this is kind of a workaround. But everything is already possible through the Dockerfile, and the reason I don't want this is because there has to be checks in the code that if you're doing this, then you shouldn't be doing this at the same time. Only one of the two works, either this or this. So you have to inform the user that, hey, you cannot really define both, just a base image and a Dockerfile. Either you specify the Dockerfile or you just give me the upstream image, right? The base image. And you don't have a UI. There is no user interface here. It's just, things running inside Kubernetes and jobs. So letting the user know what's going on and what the problem is just a log line in the job.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially, I was thinking also if they provide an image and some attributes on how to integrate in it, they also don't get to experience it, right? Like at the end of the day, we want them to be the ones making the choice of, no, I want Kairos in it in this stage because the caching or because X or Y, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the one on top looks very nice and fancy, but it's probably too problematic.
And actually, this part can be implemented outside the operator. So if you're building a graphical user interface, like a web interface around the operator, you could just let them define this, right? And then you, in the interface, would end up building a Dockerfile to feed to the operator. So it's perfectly possible if someone is building an interface to wrap this complexity in whatever tool they want. So it doesn't have to be in the operator, this part. So if you all agree, I mean, we can do it in the future if it's requested or for some reason becomes more relevant. But for now, I think we're good because there are more features around this ticket, and I would really like to focus on those that we don't have. So having said that, if you don't disagree, we'll stick to the Dockerfile. So the next ticket, without diving into much detail, is that we want to specify various files. So there, in Aurora Boot, you have 3. You used to have 4. That's why I consolidated 2 of them, the overlay ISO and the data. But you have 3 ways currently to inject things in the artifact. So the overlay ISO, which puts things on the root of the ISO, and you find it mounted under run and itramfs something live. Then you can inject things in the rootfs of the installed system, and then in the UEFI something, in the EFI, I think. I had Cursor looking it up. I didn't even know that. So there are 3 flags, and I have a pull request somewhere here, the document ISO extending options, which is trying to explain what they do because it wasn't explained anywhere. So imagine that we want to expose this on the operator and allow the user, for example, if they want to go and fetch something from S3, let's say they have a proprietary image or a model that they want to include in the rootfs, right? They want to somehow fetch it, and that somehow maybe needs credentials. So the OS artifact currently has the concept of exporters. So when the build is done, you can define an exporter job which has access to the volume that has the artifacts, and then you do whatever you want in there. It's actually a job spec. So you can read the secret, your S3 credentials, and upload the artifacts wherever you want. And that's how we upload to Nginx, for example. That's the exporter. So the idea is we introduce importers, which is going to allow you to fetch things from wherever you want in containers, init containers it's going to be, one by one. They run in sequence. You can populate volumes arbitrary volumes, which you can define and say, okay, put this there, put that there, and then you use the volumes as flags to Aurora boot. It's not going to look like that. It's not going to mention Aurora boot, but that's what it's going to be in the end. So if you say, okay, this volume should be my overlay ISO, you have the option to put whatever you want in that volume, and eventually it's going to become the overlay ISO for Aurora boot. And this is what all these describe. So you can have things that become build contexts in Canonical. So the context is what Docker build would see, right? The files you can have next to your Docker file, usually. You can have ISO extra files. These are the overlay ISO things, I think. And these are, I think, the rootfs ones, if I'm not mistaken. No, this one I'm not really sure what it is. But all of them can be implemented with importers, and that's what I'm currently working on. And the last thing is around FIPS and signing things where you want secrets, but yeah, let's not discuss that yet. Yeah, someone said something. Okay, anyway, so yeah, the next one is going to be around FIPS, and I think this would conclude this ticket, but we can discuss next week because I think we're not going to reach the FIPS part. Any questions?
No.
No. All right. And this is what I discussed, documenting the extending options, but I needed to merge the PR first, this PR, the deprecation, before I open that for review. And that's it. So all our time is almost gone. So what do we do this week? Let's try to be smart about this. So William, I guess you're going to have quite some work to finish on CAPI. You probably don't need any other tickets. Okay. So we have Hadron things, which is the main focus to get 400 out, which means cleaning up docs, migrating docs to Docusaurus, removing things from pipelines, testing out with the release until everything works. And that sounds quite some work for a week. And we also have the firmware update story, which we moved back here. So I guess if we are done with this, we can pick this up and continue. Right? And then there is what I just explained here with the spec requirements for the operator. Do we need a lot more? That's my question. How does everybody feel? We can pull some more stories in, but if we reach this, it means we already have 400 out. We already have a migrated documentation site, and we probably already have a firmware update, a way to work with firmware update in Hadron.
That's so super cool.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like if we reach that point, we just slack until the weekends, which is never going to happen. But I'm just saying, maybe I can pull in a chore, or we can look at the board for an incoming tickets or bugs or discussions. So docs migration, I'm not going to go through it. It's all small issues.
You
right?
can ignore those. Yeah.
The Coco said not yet. Let's not discuss. Why is it there? I thought we yeah, because we didn't clean up the README. I think I have a comment there. Okay, I think we can fix this.
Yeah.
That goes to progress, then grabbing it and
that should be a 1 minute thing.
Yeah. This, let's move it there at the top. We always think we fixed it and it keeps coming back. Refactor Kairos provider model for composability and multi-provider orchestration. That was the ticket after the discussion we had around providers, right?
Yeah.
But we shouldn't pick it up.
Not yet. We wait for William to give us feedback for the first iteration, so to speak, and then we decide.
Okay.
I was distracted. Which one is it? Oh, refactor the Kairos. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
All right. Target a specific Linux kernel. It was a request, and I think we mentioned a workaround. I think I showed your comment there this morning. down here somewhere. Me, you, no, it's Akas. Yip plugin pinning packages. Is that fixing the ticket?
No, it's not, but it can provide a more declarative way of pinning stuff if you really need it. So the idea will be that you ship along with your Dockerfile or init configs or whatever, you ship an extra step that runs in the before install. There is support for that in init. And you use zip to pin whatever packages to whatever version you want. And then when you run the install, the pinning should work. So if you pin a kernel to 5.15, when you do apt-get install kernel, it should use the pinnet one. So that way, we don't need to support that in init directly, which introduces a lot of complexity for us. But we also provide a way of doing it in a more declarative way, so you can track that via Git, for example. You ship your config Git there, and you don't have to run like commands or things like that.
How does it not fix the issue then?
Well, first is very alpha. Like I bytecode it, but not in an AI way. Like
sounds stable to me.
I just check.
What were you consuming? Explain.
So
It was
I
with
just
alcohol.
yeah, I wrote the code assuming a lot of things in the underlying system after reading how pinning works in different distros, and just went with it. Didn't test it or anything, and it got merged. So it needs some testing.
Living on the edge, Chaka.
It wasn't supposed to be merged. It was supposed to be discussed today.
No,
If we wanted to go this way.
No, we just merge. We don't discuss. Okay, I put a comment there to know why it's open, so it just needs testing. But sounds like a workaround is on its way. NVIDIA building alongside inside the Aurora boot. Wait, that's part of Kairos in it, no? We still have scripts. What do we have in Aurora boot?
We have a few scripts around that. The only thing that they do currently, I think, is being a pain in the ass. And instead of writing a single image, they have to write separated images, so you can flash the NVIDIA boards with it. And because we already built those images inside Aurora boot, and then we just merge them into a single one, we should be able to just have a flag like, I don't know, NVIDIA or something like that, that just creates the images and leaves them as is, so you can flash them directly. So in order to just remove the stupid script that we have in there, that it is a problem because when it has its own group stuff and it has its own sizes, and so everything is separated from the main image building. Yeah, and so when there is problems, it's just because there is a single script separated from everything else.
And that's different from this. So should I just? It doesn't sound difficult, more of a chore, but on the other hand, it could easily break things, and we don't have an NVIDIA, the rest of us. So I would say if I was to change this, I would probably break it without knowing it. So I'm not sure if who is actually affected by this other than we.
So for example, Jasper found out that state reset doesn't show up in group, and it could come from this because we create the group config separated from a different source. So when we updated everything to use to have the state reset in the default config, we didn't update the script or the package or whatever. So
it's already planned for 4.2, by the way. So yeah, okay.
Nice.
I'm skipping it. All right. So I had a quick look. The rest of them we discussed. I check until what we discussed last time. So I think we're good. I don't see anything too urgent there, and we're past the time, 6 minutes.
Can
Anything
you check
want?
discussions? Check discussions in case there is something in there.
Yeah. One sec, loading. These had 9 answers already.
That's all too old.
Yeah, November, January. Yeah, nothing new, and most of them have answers except for these. But yeah, I mean, I don't see why we do it now. Longhorn is a bundle. Using Aurora boot need. That's already possible, no? That's in the docs. ISO with bundles. That's,
Yeah.
I think I saw an example like that in the docs. Yeah, okay. Some of the things have to happen from community, especially things that are already around. It's not possible to go through all the open tickets and reply, right? So yeah, at your own time, if you have time, please do so. And I'm stopping the sharing here. Are we all good? Anything last minute you want to bring up?
All good.
No?
All good.
No.
All right, guys. Have a good
Have a nice
week.
day, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.